My name is Christopher Saunders, and I'm pleased to have on from the day Mike Dimauro, who's a sports writer, as I mentioned. Pardon me, for the day, Mike. Oh, geez, I'm so choked up to be able to have you on, man. So, Mike, how's everything with you and your family?
Everything's great, Chris. Thanks for having me on.
Good. It's a pleasure to be able to have you on. I mean, I've read a lot of your stuff. I know during the fall you wrote a lot, and I actually used a lot of your writings as far as with my interviews. And what's funny enough is that, and I think it's great to be able to have somebody on who, while I agree with a lot of what you write, there's some stuff I haven't, but I think that's what makes the world go round, though, because to be able to have, and we're going to have some pretty healthy debates why I have you on in just a moment. But I think to kind of just to sum up what we've learned in over the last year and a half, and the pandemic kind of has put spotlight on this, is that the conversations we have don't always have to be agreed upon, but we should listen to another side. And just because you don't agree doesn't mean shut it down. La la la. I see. I don't hear evil. You know what I mean?
And you might be able to learn something too from somebody else.
Exactly. I think that's. We'll leave it right there. We'll leave it right there. But Mike, obviously, the main reason why I have you on here is because ever since the state tournament ended for baseball, there was a discussion that was brought up, and it created quite a storm on Twitter about public versus school of choice and kind of that. And there's a lot to break down with that. So, for people who may not know, your stance on the public versus the school of choice and why that created such a debate on Twitter and such.
Well, Chris, I think that schools of choice who can who can get kids from multiple towns
Mhm.
have their greatest advantage over small public high schools. I don't think they should not be in in Class S, where there is the greatest number of small public schools.
Mhm.
This goes back years now. I think the best or worst example was 2016 when Sacred Heart boys basketball was competing in Class S for the same trophy as Chippewa Valley, Wheeler. I mean, these small schools that have 200 kids total in them, how are they supposed to beat Sacred Heart
Mhm.
that had a kid that ended up, I believe, finishing his career at St. John's, Stop That's where it actually started a few years earlier for me, but that to me, that was the most egregious.
Mhm.
And, schools of choice have won 4 out of the last 6 Class S baseball championships. The Class S boys lacrosse uh, championship this year was St. Joe's and East Catholic. And I and I the reason for that is when the CIAC, the rules that exist right now, the divisions are enrollment based. My argument is it's not the numbers, it's how those numbers come to be. So, Chris, if you have 300 boys in in your school and you get them from 30 different towns, and I have 300 boys in my school and I get them from one town, you have a competitive advantage over me, I think, because if you're any kind of a coach, you can go get the best player or the second best player in your sport in 30 different towns, and you have an advantage over a small public school. That's I got one town, one group of kids. That's it. Now, I'm not for separating schools of choice and public schools. I think we can all. I think we can all play one one tournament. I just think that all schools of choice should be an L and double L. That's really it. But boy, the pushback, you, you can't imagine.
Now, I'm glad that you mentioned Sacred Heart because I went to Sacred Heart. I graduated in 2011, and
Okay.
I actually was just about, I started right after the Mustafa Haran year. So it was about 2017 when things were really starting to peak as far as Sacred Heart. I mean, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but I think the reason why the CIAC, as far as for basketball, went to divisions, a lot of it is because of Sacred Heart, because of the success and the fact that, and I was kind of talking behind the mic to my now future partner Dave Grant, my mentor who is now the sport director at WATR, Bob Sagendorf, and I said, "Hey, Sacred Heart it's like playing against a bunch. And no offense to the teams, but the talent level is just up here to here. It's they need to be at a higher level, double L, L, whatever. And now seeing them in Division One, and obviously we don't know what they could have been as far as 2020 and this year, especially because of COVID and such, but you just see how as soon as they went to Division One, it got a lot harder for them. And I like the fact, and that you raise a very good point about how to see what the school of choice could be if they were to be an L or double L. Now the question I have for you is, obviously, these Catholics and the St. Joe's, we know about them. They don't need to be discussed. But not every school of choice is at the same level as them. So, kind of, where would you say should they still go up to L or double L? Kind of like, what's your answer to that?
But you raise a great point because all schools of choice are treated the same now, which
Mhm.
is absurd. I mean, I in 2019, actually 2018, uh, uh, Wamogo had a really good
Yep.
uh, season. I don't know how far they got, but they got far. And because they are a school of choice, because of a VOAG program,
Hmm.
them and their 200 boys got moved to Division 3 that year,
Yep.
playing against playing against Staples that has 991 boys. That is to me, that is absurd. Fairfield Prep has 800 boys from 51 towns. Killingly has 300 boys, but because they have a VOAG program, they are bound by the same rules. It's absurd. It is absurd. Why are we doing this? And I can't get anybody to give me a, a straight answer.
Hmm.
It's not. All I know is that I don't care that Coggins beat a Catholic school to win the baseball championship this year. The fact that that game was played is absurd on its face because Coggins beat, is it Notre Dame? Was it Northwest? Who they beat?
In the
They
final,
beat
it was St.
Paul,
Paul.
St.
St.
Paul,
Paul.
right?
Yep.
St. Paul is getting kids from multiple towns. Coggins, Durham, and Middlefield. They do not play by the same rules and should not be playing for the same trophy. The fact that Coggins won the game,
Hmm.
good for them. But let's remember, in 4 of the previous 5 years, schools
Hmm.
of choice won that same tournament. And that's all I'm saying. We need to have earnest conversations about this stuff. And I just don't see that anybody in this state wants to do it.
Now, I know in your article that you wrote previously, and by the way, great article. I sent it to a bunch of coaches and they all loved it. Seriously, excellent work by you, man. And I think that one topic that you brought up I thought was very interesting was until there's enough banter, until there's enough people from the smaller schools raising their voice. And I kind of equated to, and I brought this up to my buddy actually about a different topic, actually about baseball, because what's going on with the foreign substance. I said, say you're at your work and there's a couple people who leave early. Nobody says anything. it happens. It happens in every job, every single job. I see it at my job. I'm sure you see it at yours, etc. But when you have 40, 50, 80, 100 people complaining about those X amount of people, it becomes a huge problem. It may not be before, it is now. So I think the question I have for you is, Mike, is pretty simple: is how do you get the people of the minority to get their voices raised and have, basically put their money where their mouth is?
I would say, Chris, the only way to do it is continue to be a thorn in their in their society. That's all. That's, I mean, you scream about it, I scream about it, other people, but we are only in the media. Essentially, what we say, they can just say, okay, that's his that's his opinion. Now we're going to do what we want to do, what we've been doing for the past 50 years.
Mhm.
And until people in our business, I mean, not our media business, but until educators start to say, I'm tired of our kids playing at a competitive disadvantage, this is never going to change. And I feel bad because the kids come to me and say, you know, Mr. D, why do we have to play these guys? Why is it what? And I go, talk to your coach, talk to your principal. They're the ones. They're the ones who can change it. I mean, I don't know about you, Chris, but I thought East Catholic was a great team this year. Very fun to watch. Nice bunch of kids. I just don't. What satisfaction did they get from dominating Class M
Mhm.
the way they did? I can't. If I got a team that good and my starting pitcher is as good as that kid was, I would want to go play the best competition that I could.
Mhm.
They didn't. I mean, listen, they finished number one. They got the trophy, everything. I just don't. To me, and we talk about having these conversations before the season. If you know that a school of choice who's getting kids from 30 different towns has a Yukon bound ace pitcher, there is no way they should be in Class M. I don't care what the numbers say, they should be playing at a higher level. And this is the stuff we just don't do.
Yeah,
Just don't.
it's yeah, no, it definitely creates quite the debate, I think, when you think about that. I know there was another tweet, I think I forgot who it was from, and I don't remember if it was public or private, but they subtweeted Joe's tweet and they said I think there was like 68, I want to say it was 68 school of choice, I want to say, or maybe it was public. I don't quite remember. But the reason why I bring that up is if it was school of choice, and I'm sure you know this better than I do, so you could probably answer this. I know you talked about putting them or L or double L, but there's also like Wamogo, because of them being known as a school of choice, even putting them in L or double L would be at a competitive disadvantage because of the boys.
Right. So I actually don't consider
Mhm.
a school of choice.
Oh, okay.
There's 200 boys in the school. It's a 200 kid. I mean, there's a 200 boys. It's a VOAG program. They're not using it. They never have for athletic reasons.
Mhm.
Nobody's going to care if they, Wamogo, Killingly, Lyman Memorial. They're small schools and they don't use their VOAG programs
Mhm.
for for uh, athletic gain. And
Mhm.
if they start to, okay, well then now we're going to move them up. But for now, I just don't see it. But how can you classify
Mhm.
Killingly and Fairfield Prep under the same umbrella? It is absurd.
Mhm.
That's just and listen, I was talking about this to me in this state right now. The greatest high school coaching jobs in this state are at St. Joe's right now because the regular season, okay, I get kids from 30 different towns, and in every sport, I play Greenwich, Darien, New Canaan. these big, great, great athletic schools, and then when the states come around, I get to compete in Class S or Class M against these small schools that have no chance, no chance. And I don't understand how. And the St. Joe's people think I hate them, and I don't. I respect their athletic program. It's great.
Mhm.
I just think they should be playing at a higher level. That's all.
Now, if the Eller, like, okay, let's say you're sitting down with the CIAC, right? Let's just pretend like that's happening,
Okay.
and they go back and say, well, the Eller double L discussion that you brought up doesn't work for X, Y, and Z. Do you like what other backup plan do you like? I know there's been talk, and somebody tweeted again. I apologize for forgetting who they were, but they said, "Oh well, just put them in their own, their own division, their own league." Well, then that creates a lot of formalities with scheduling and so on. So, what other ideas do you potentially have?
Well, I think if you did that, if you put schools of choice in their own division, you would have to have large schools of choice and small schools of choice. You can't just lump them all
Mhm,
together because Wamogo would beat Fairfield Prep never.
mhm,
So you can't do that. I have no problem with if St. Joe's wants to play the schools that they play in their league, great.
mhm,
But when the state tournament comes, if you've been playing L and and double L schools all season long in
mhm.
your league, that's who you should be playing in the state tournament. And and again, I say this. This would involve. I go back to basketball because that's where to me where all this started.
Mhm.
And I think what you need, and this is not easy, is you need discussion about all. I believe there's 183 all 183 schools before the season starts. As the basketball committee chair, I would assign people from across this from across the state. Your job is to tell me what what went on in this off season in the NCCC, for
Mhm.
example, that might mitigate a team going up or down. Uh, who got hit hardest by graduation? Transfers in, transfers out, injuries, coaching changes, whatever factors there are.
Mhm.
Okay. And I would talk to media. I would talk to anybody that had some some kind of info and then bring all that back and say, okay, well, I think NCCC, I think Summers, maybe they should go up this year because they got five guys back. They're
Mhm.
ready. Suffield, maybe they should go down because they lost all it or stay the same. I believe we need to have a discussion about every single school to make it as fair as possible. And again, it is intricate. It would take time. You'd have to be very organized. All I can tell you, I'm in. I'm in. I would love to be part of of that of that structure because at the end of the day it just means that the kids are going to be playing who they should be playing. It's a lot of work though.
I've always believed that beyond the coaches and the players, the people who know most about what's going on in the state as far as sports are the media people. That's why I've always found it very perplexing that even if it was just league by league, which, as far as if I was to vote for just the NVL, because obviously I broadcast in it, I know it better than somebody like yourself who covers the shore. No disrespect. I'm just saying because
Right,
you see the shore games. I don't. Like, obviously I know about Killingly and what they've done, but I haven't seen a game for them. You have. So
right.
I would think, you know, to have the media as far as voting to give them an opportunity, maybe, for top player, coach, whatever, but it sticks to a very small criteria. And I just wonder why the media is not allowed more. And this is not like a dig towards the CIAC. I'm just saying this as entirely as a whole. Why the media is not allowed more for their input on certain things, because we're there more, we see more, we talk more.
We have we we cover all these schools. We have no dog in the fight.
Hmm.
Coaches tell us things, principals tell us things, ADs tell us things, and the the committee that I'm talking about, they could take what we say with a grain of salt, but at least ask us, because
Yeah.
these are our jobs. This is what we do.
Hmm.
But it's just I'm at a loss to explain why the same thing happens every year. And it's not, Chris. I uh, I saw it in girls lacrosse this year. In 2016, I believe, New Fairfield got moved down from M to S. New Fairfield has won the last four Class S girls lacrosse championships. When are we going to realize that Class S just is not competitive enough for them anymore? And in spite of their numbers, they need to be back in M to
Hmm.
give S schools a chance. But these are the conversations we don't have. We just don't have.
Now, why do you think that they are so stuck on the numbers part? I mean, I've heard people talk about it being archaic.
It's easy. It's convenient. Here are the numbers. Here are divisions. Give us our money. That's it.
Really?
That's it.
Huh.
I listen. I would love the opportunity. I would love to run CIAC for 1 year. I would be the most unpopular person in the state by far. But I can I can tell you this:
Hmm.
I would work really hard to make sure that the that at the end of the day,
Hmm.
the kids get a fair shot.
Well, speaking of you working for the CIAC, have you had any discussions with Glenn Lungarini or anybody from the CIAC, the executive director, anybody?
What's the point? What is the point? I see no point, because I just don't think I think their heels are dug in. This is what we've done for the last 50 years, and this is how we're going to do it. And who are you to to, to, to tell us differently? That's all. And I'm sorry. I mean, I watch it every single year. Why is this game being played? Uh, uh, so this goes back for me to 2014.
Hmm.
I watched a boys basketball semifinal, East Catholic against Waterford. East Catholic won by 30. East Catholic's starters, all right, I wrote it down, were from Ellington, Weathersfield, two from South Windsor, one from Windsor. One of those kids went to San Diego. One of those kids went to Kansas State. And then you had five kids from Waterford. Now, I think East Catholic is the best boys basketball program in our state. I think Luke Riley is the best coach. And and if I had a kid, I would be an idiot not to send my kid there, because every year you're going to play for a league championship, a state championship, and Luke's going to get your kid into school somewhere. I respect them tremendously, but the idea that East Catholic and Waterford are playing for the same trophy is absurd. That's where it started, and I don't see that a whole lot's gotten better.
So, and I think that's a great point, Mike, that you brought up. And that's something that I didn't even think about as far as that matchup. And I could see why it kind of would start for you there. You know what I mean? And I think, the debate of the public and the school of choice is one that is not very easy, I think, to kind of, because there's so many people who have different ideas, and I think it's one of those things that is hard to really say, well, this will work, or this will work. It's almost like the better of the bad ideas, maybe, but there's really no bad ideas, because then I'd be basically talking back what I just said about everybody having an opinion and putting in their 2 cents, because everybody deserves to at least have an opinion about something, right?
Yeah, but if we all have an have an opinion about it, that presupposes that we're having a discussion about it, and I don't even know that that's going on.
Mhm.
And I'm finding that I scream about this so much now. They have now they have now effectively turned me into a loon. Like, that guy is crazy. Like, they don't they oh, there he goes again. There he goes again. He's a one act play. There he goes again. The facts haven't changed. I keep screaming because you haven't done a damn thing.
Mhm.
So,
Wow.
you know,
I mean, like when was the last time that, I mean, have you ever had discussions with Glenn or anybody from the CIAC? I mean, can you share any of that, or is it just never happened?
no, I I make the points
Mhm.
that I make, and frankly, all I get is, we'll bring this up in committee. We'll bring, we'll talk about this. It'll be it'll be a discussion, and maybe it is. But if it's the same people,
Mhm.
what would make me think anything's ever going to change? Nothing changes. Nothing changes. And I and I think what bothers me the most, it's not the CIAC's unwillingness to change. It's so many member schools without the guts to say anything. Like, if you're the year that Wamogo got moved to Division 3, how do you, if you're a school official there, not start screaming about that from day one? Go to the papers, go to the radio state. This is not right. Why are we doing this? We are going to have the best team we've ever had at our school, and we can't win. I mean, how? Listen, I understand, you know, school administrators have a lot on their plates, and whether the basketball team wins a state championship or not is probably about item number 50. I get that, but there is a lot of value in being on the front page for all the right reasons.
Mhm.
And if this is a once in a lifetime team, I think it's your responsibility to make sure that they are competing on the most level playing ground that they can. And I remember the year, uh, I go back to 2016 when Sacred Heart was in Class S. I was covering a game at Old Lyme. Now, Oldham is very good Class S athletic program. They beat a bigger school the day I was there. They beat a bigger school. They were good. I mean, legit. And I remember going to the interviewing the point guard after the game, saying, "Hey, you guys can, you guys can, you guys can win this year." And the kid said to me, "No, we can't. We can't beat Sacred Heart." So he knew going in the middle of the year, he knew they had no chance.
Mm.
That that broke my heart because here's a kid who knew. Here's a kid who was defeated before he started. That's what bothers me.
And I think people who may, misconstrue some of the stuff that you write or say or tweet, I think if they're going to take anything from this or in general, it's the fact that you're not doing this for yourself. You're doing it for the kids. And I talked to somebody who is friends, Coach Burris, who now is no longer NFA. He's
Great
going,
guy.
fantastic. I've talked to him regularly. I've told him I became, and I meant this to him because I had him on my podcast, and ever since this was about, when I first started in March of last year, I said I've become a better man after talking with you as much as I have. And I don't know if he believes it, and I hope he does, but it's just that I feel like, and I think 99% of us in the media, and I think there's the 1%ers like with anything that are bad eggs, whatever. We do it because we want to help the kids. We want to be able to see the best for them. We want to be able to do as much as we can possible because of the futures that they have in sports or being just a student in general or both if they have that opportunity in college. And I think for you specifically, Mike, it's that you do it because you want to help the student athletes and the athletes in particular because of what they've done.
It's been part of it, and part of it is selfish. I want to tell better. I want to tell the best stories I can tell,
Mm-hmm.
and 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 frankly, old Lyme against Sacred Heart, not going to be a very good story. I want to tell the best stories that I can. I want to see our kids have the best chance they can to pile on each other.
Mm-hmm.
And there's too many instances now where they don't have a shot.
Well, Mike, I feel like this is something that will be talked about for the entire summer, and I don't see this going away anytime soon. I think this will be brought up even in the fall because it'll be the first time since 2019 that football is going to be, played, and I'm sure there's going to be a whole lot of debates amongst that as well, even during the season as well.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, well, the football thing, I mean, that's not the story. I mean, they it's haves and have nots right now.
Mhm.
And we were saying off air, I got emails today from the coach at one of the poorest schools in the state, and an email from one of the richest schools in the state or school systems. And they both agreed that the system has to change. So when you have the haves and the have-nots agreeing, that that tells me we got to change something.
It brings up the fact of what we saw during the fall and even late into the fall about the inequity of, we saw the teams and the players that could afford and the ones that can't. And I thought in your article, again, to go back to that, I really appreciate you having on here, Mike, is that you brought up the fact how you were not poo pooing the parents and the families who do make money. They deserve it. They made it. You deserve it. But at the same time, for the ones that are struggling and not to their own, nobody chooses the struggle. I can tell you that right now. But I just think that if there's any way to, and we're not saying to equal the playing field as far as to dummy down, like, no, we're not saying that. And I think you weren't saying that either. I think you were trying to say that you want to, any which way, if coaches, these are certified coaches, have them coach in the summer, even if it's only for a month. I mean, coaches are not going to, at least to my knowledge, at least in Connecticut, um, try to make the kids beat them down as far as 4-hour practices all the way down to the dirt, and then by the time the season starts they're 50% of what they could be. They just want to try to work on technique. I mean, the game of football is diminishing in Connecticut. I mean, I can't tell you how many as far as just what I've seen around where I live, that I keep hearing about co-op from teams that I never even would have expected to be co-op.
Right. So, but I think a, a, a societal trend now is to beat up on people with means. If you make money, if you have money, you're evil unless you share it with everybody. And I'm like, no, listen, you work hard for your money, good for you. And if you want what's best for your kid, I want I want what's best for mine. That's called being good, a good parent.
Mhm.
But what I see right now is that people with means have too many advantages over people who don't. So in poorer poorer places where they can't send their kids to summer, give them the option of sending their kids to the to the high school to work out with with their coach. So now you're getting summer lifting,
Mhm.
7-on-7, and individual skill development. And now it's a more equal playing field. I don't think that's asking too much. And but again, you would think that some of these places are asking the CIAC for a, $1 million. Just why can't I, for 5, 6 hours a week, work with my kids on, you know, blocking, tackling, technique, route running? What is so bad? Why can't we do that? Why is this so difficult? And and again, all day today, emails, tweets. You're right. You're right. You're right. You're right. And it's listen. It's nice, and I say thank you. But until you people start to scream as loud as me, nothing's going to change.
Mike, it's a battle that I think will be continued for a lot of people. I think for a number, like I said, it's gonna keep going on in the fall, and I think it's gonna go towards the winter and the spring and
Oh yeah,
continuously. It's not gonna stop, like you said. And I think it's one that it's a healthy debate as long as people, I think, are willing to sit down and hear both sides. And that goes for the person like, yourself, myself, whoever it could be. If we're gonna listen, then the opposite side needs to listen as well. That's what makes a
I
healthy
agree.
conversation.
Yeah, but I'd love to sit down and have a conversation. I just don't. I just think right now, this I don't see a real uh, willingness to have that.
Mike, it was great to be able to have you on and spend some time here. I really do appreciate it, and I hope to have
Love
you
it.
back on in
Just
the
anytime,
future.
anytime. Thank you.
I'll wrap things up here in the Connecticut Sports Talent Show. So until next time, stay safe. And CT stands for Connecticut Talent. I'm on a journey to find them all. Enjoy the rest of your day, everybody, and be well.